Hello, everybody out there. It's me, Jamie, with Claire. We made it happen. Hello. Um, there's a full moon. If you've stepped outside the last few nights, it's been pretty bright. Pretty beautiful with the Pisces full moon showing her her light. And it was officially yesterday, so the 30th of August. And full moons have their own energy and perhaps energetic message to listen to. And I have Claire here to help share her insight into what a full moon in Pisces this time of year could reveal for yourself, could help bring out certain themes, and like always, put it through your own lens and see if you have space to really sit with how this digests for you. And I'm going to pass the baton to Claire.
Thank you. Hi everybody. Full moon in Pisces. It was mysterious for me, and to sort of wiggle my way into it, through it, around it. And like always, I like to share my strategy of really making sense of these things by really leading with the moon itself. I think when we talk about signs and planets and everything, it starts to become pretty, but not as practical as it could be. So I do always start with the moon itself and recognizing the entity, the sort of metaphysical entity, if not the physical entity of the moon, which is our emotional body. And that's where Jamie and I align with her brilliant approach to the body. And I think you just referenced that people should digest this with their own enzymes. You didn't say enzymes, but kind of like that. So the moon is, it waxes and wanes, and we're talking about the full moon, of course. So pretty big, pretty close to the earth yesterday. And then Pisces, once you've sort of grounded yourself in your moon energy, and that could either be, I encourage you to think of it as the feminine, the divine feminine, whatever that might be to you. So it's changing all the time, the moon. We know that. I mean, we visit it here, Jamie and I do, in its two most obvious states: the new moon, when you don't see anything in the sky, and the full moon. And that's a good place to start. The moon in its fullness in Pisces was a challenge for me, like I said, because Pisces is, it's the 12th sign of the zodiac. It represents, the glyph is the fish, and the fish is commonly associated with Christ, because Christ lived on beyond the physical body. I mean, that's the association there. And when I was thinking about this, I wasn't thinking about Christ or Christianity, but just the fish. Obviously, it's something that lives in water, and we don't. Humans don't live in the water. We can't breathe in the water. And fish are already, therefore, sort of in another world, let's say, than we are. And perhaps that already sets us off on, part of what was mysterious about this for me, which is that, okay, the moon representing the feminine or the divine feminine, waxing and waning. What's the connection between the divine feminine and this otherworldliness that obviously the fish represents, because it literally exists in an atmosphere that we don't. The connection for me was that the moon really controls the tide and the ocean. There's a deep relationship between the moon and where that fish lives. And so the idea of regulation came up for me because, of course, everybody knows, or you will know now, that Pisces is really associated with, on the negative side, on the challenging side, or whatever adjective you feel comfortable with. The fall is what an astrologer would say is overwhelm. You can, it's got no boundaries. It's limitless. Of course, on the positive side, there's radical emotional acceptance and no judgment and sort of this ethereal, pretty extreme, these two differences. And well, the exaltation and the fall of any sign are obviously different, opposite sometimes. But what the moon can be in Pisces, again, let's start with the moon. The divine feminine can be accessed and seen, let's say, within, seen maybe with your inner eye during this full moon in a way that honors it, in a way that, we can recognize that it is normally not seen. That's something that I really appreciated about having a full moon in Pisces, that it really is about that part of us that is usually considered hard to reach or hidden, like a fish, easily scared away, the subconscious, the unconscious, these fish that dart away from the surface when you, as a human, walk up to it. It's an interesting way of connecting, I think, our sense of the feminine with what sometimes gets forgotten or forgotten about or not represented in culture or scared easily, but will come out when it's given space. I mean, there is some sense of pulling for that which is so gentle and receptive, as in not aggressive, recessive, something that would come out only when there is space given to it. So a full moon in Pisces could be that, but at the same time, it could be experienced as the fall, as, oh my gosh, I see everything. It's too much. I don't know how to regulate this. That's why I brought up regulation. I do always in my own practice think about where we're coming from and where we're going to. So the last two weeks ago, we talked about the new moon, the dark moon in Leo, bringing your game, your best game, your playfulness, your true erotic or childlike desires to mind, bringing that to mind. That was Leo in the new moon. And now looking forward from this full moon in Pisces, we're going to have a new moon again in Virgo in 2 weeks. And that is all about measure and regulation, and in a really safe, wonderful way. Virgo separates the chaff from the grain and makes sense of things. And that's exactly what Pisces, when it is overwhelmed, when it is bringing that overwhelming energy, if that's connecting with your moon at all, you can sort of remind yourself that the moon does regulate. The moon regulates the ocean. So we don't have to wait for Virgo. I'm just sort of putting that out there as a signal to everyone that I do like to keep things on a continuum. But this idea of tapping into the divine feminine and recognizing emotions that are hidden, emotions that are not always given space, emotions that are othered by the culture, and then also the great power we have in the moon of regulating such overwhelming feelings just by knowing that the moon is constantly revolving, rotating, changing, and always feminine. That is the divine feminine in my book. And to consider that not unpredictable and chaotic, but no, to consider it almost like music, that there's a rhythm and a purpose to the rhythm, and a sort of connecting vibe with yourself, to understand that if you allow those emotions space, even the overwhelming ones, and then keep going, because when you keep going, you're regulating. You're on day 15, day 16, day 17, and you don't need to stop and make your life that overwhelming feeling. It can sometimes feel that way. But again, moon first. So what does the moon do? It doesn't stop. It keeps going. And I really appreciated that that idea of the moon in the sky literally regulating the oceans, their tide, and then the fish inside those oceans kind of regulating, with one eye on either side of their heads, normally not being able to see everything all at once, but getting overwhelmed on one side, maybe really intimate and close up on another side. But they regulate by going up and down with the tide. They do it differently than we do. It's not a human glyph. And so maybe we need to recognize that, our bodies are maybe human bodies, but our souls are, it's quite debatable what sort of species our souls are. And so again, it's that natural, really, truly, the mysticism of the natural world in the 12th house that I got from this full moon.
Thank you for letting us digest your interpretation of this full moon. Yeah, so I guess the parting words that really also to taking in this information is space.
Mm-hmm.
Getting space for yourself and for whatever you need to take this in and to take yourself in as fully as is available. All right, we'll see you soon. Like Claire said, every 2 weeks we'll be moving into another new moon, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.